more older people voted Brexit. More older people would vote Tory or Reform. So actually, you're not our people anyway.
Pensioners.
Mm,
And for a long time, when Starmer was trying to woo the electorate post the pre-election, he was zoning in, we'll look after our old folk, we'll make sure that they're well taken care of, they won't be cold in the wintertime. And then, of course, it was announced that the winter fuel payments would be axed for very, very many pensioners. And, the government didn't seem to pay a blind bit of notice to that. It was probably one of the most unpopular things that I've seen a government do in recent history, but they plowed on with it anyway. I'm looking at DWP, Department for Works and Pensions, have issued a new winter fuel payment update for pensioners in the UK. So they've explained, they've sent letters to millions of pensioners between October the 7th and November the 4th, urging those who were unsure to check their potential entitlement to pension credit. Think about that just for a second. They left it until October, when we're into the autumn time, to send millions of letters to pensioners to check and see whether or not they're entitled to pension credit. Nick, I don't know about you. I hate forms. I hate online
mm,
digital this, digital that. An old pensioner gets a letter through, their heads all over the place. They may be alone. They don't understand what's going on. They've no way maybe to get out, to get to a local centre to talk about this, or they certainly can't have the capacity to go online and do this sort of stuff online.
mm.
So the result is the letter goes in the drawer, maybe ends up in the bin, maybe doesn't get open in the first place, and in the meantime, they freeze. And it's affecting up to 10 million people following the Labour government's decision on winter fuel payment eligibility. Over 10 million people above state pension age will no longer receive up to £300. That's a lot. That's a seventh, roughly,
Mm.
of the British population.
Yeah, first of all, there's a question about should the winter fuel allowance ever been created in the first place under Gordon Brown? That's a different discussion, but we have it. And once you give people a benefit, people then plan their lives around having that benefit. To remove it then feels like they've lost something important, which many people have. So this Labour government seem to have it in for pensioners, and we need to figure out why. First of all, pensioners more likely to use the NHS, which is failing. If we can get rid of some pensioners, that will help the NHS. The winter fuel allowance costs 1.4 billion a year. Sounds a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's absolutely nothing. We're spending 6, 7 billion a year on housing in hotels, illegal immigrants. So when you compare it to that, it's a fraction of the cost. I'm surprised Labour did this because Labour were sat in Parliament a couple of years ago speaking to the Tory Prime Minister, going, "We've heard you're going to cut the winter fuel allowance. This is disgraceful. We would never do that. You're going to kill all those grannies and granddads." And we've just done a report. We've commissioned an independent report that says so many thousand pensioners are going to die every year if you cut this benefit. They get into power within weeks. They're cutting the thing they said they would never cut. And the Tories were evil for even thinking about it. So not only have they done what they said they weren't going to do, and now they've put some pensions in danger. For us, it's also the hypocrisy of this government. You cannot build, I mean, all politicians lie. Let's get that fact out there. They all lie. But this Labour government have taken it to new heights of barefaced lying to people.
Well, yeah, it's almost like it's in their DNA, and the audacity, though, that the fact that they actually done the research themselves.
Mm,
This is the result. If you do this, don't do it, and then they get into power
yeah.
and they go ahead and do exactly the same thing. And the ironic thing is, when they've been questioned about this, what impact do you think this will have on the nation's elderly over the winter? Well, we're not quite sure about that. They've already done the report, published
Yeah.
it themselves when they were in opposition. And again, the DWP, Department for Work and Pension, is actively promoting the pension credit take-up plan, encouraging older individuals to claim by the 21st of December 2024, with eligible or successful claims eligible for a backdated winter fuel payment. But again, 21st of December 2024, that's slap bang in the middle of the winter. What happens if
Mm,
you miss that deadline? What happens if you just say, okay, I finally got online, I finally navigated the system. It's the 22nd of December, 3 days before Christmas. What do
mm.
you do in that case? A new online petition has been launched urging the government to immediately reverse means testing of winter fuel payments, and on it goes. Let's be honest about it. They're not going to pay any attention to an online petition. It doesn't matter if 500,000 pensioners shuffle down to Whitehall tomorrow morning to protest against this. They're just going to look at it and say, look, we understand. We understand that it's tough, but we've got a 22 billion black hole that the Tories left us, and we're going to make you freeze to
Yeah.
plug 1.4 billion of that. That just seems to be their mindset, and there's no moving them on it.
And if you look at the 1.4 billion savings, like I say, it sounds a lot, but it's not. But it's still a chunk of money. The NHS have come out now saying this policy is going to cost them 0.4 billion by pensioners turning up cold and hypothermia and extra complications to people. So the NHS now have just spent 0.4 billion. So now there's a billion savings.
Mm.
Credit pensions are saying the more people who sign up for credit pension that we're going to have to pay them out. So that billion is now coming down. It looks like at the moment, if they're lucky, they're going to save something like 500 million, which is 500 million. I mean, we really are talking about peanuts now.
Mm.
Again, this is ideological. This is a Stalinist socialist government looking at who are the people in society who deserve help and support. And pensioners don't deserve help and support for several reasons. The first reason is you're not productive anymore to the state. You're now a drain on the state. You're not productive. You're not one of the workers anymore. Another thing is more older people voted Brexit. More older people would vote Tory or Reform. So actually, you're not our people anyway. So I think this policy again is vindictive and it's ideologically driven. It's you're not our people. We're going to fund our people.